Sea of Thieves is currently in the worst state it has ever been in. It has the lowest amount of players actively playing the game than ever before, and it isn't getting any better. But why? Sea of Thieves was released on March 20th, 2018, but it was first playable during the closed beta earlier the same year in late January of 2018. Within the first week of Sea of Thieves being officially released, the game had over 2 million total players sail the seas. Compare that to the current last 30 days, where the average peak players has dropped significantly to a staggering 0.5% of what it had on the initial launch. When Sea of Thieves was first released, it was something that had never really been seen before, an open world sandbox game with unique mechanics and many islands to explore. This of course led to the game gaining insane popularity as it was being streamed by many streamers, with the most notable one being Summit1G, with a lot of his streams at the time reaching 60,000 live viewers. The game was great. It was obvious that the game had come a long way from the sneak peeks that we saw in 2014 from when the game was still in early development. What we saw in 2014 were sausage-shaped characters on terrible looking ships with Roblox looking graphics. So to say that everyone was blown away when it was actually released was definitely an understatement. Sea of Thieves stole the spotlight from some huge games at the time, becoming some of the most popular streamers at the time's main game to play. But as they all played Sea of Thieves, they all came to a similar conclusion, and that was that Sea of Thieves was getting boring. At the time, the game really didn't have much content. It had select quests you could do with the main goal of reaching Pirate Legend, but after you reached Pirate Legend, there wasn't really much that the game had to offer. And I mean, sure, you could show off your new shiny cosmetics, but there's only so much of that you can do before wondering what's next. And that was a question that never really got answered. At the time, with a lot of the big streamers playing Sea of Thieves, it was no surprise that people followed. We had a lot of the small streamers streaming Sea of Thieves as well, and a lot of players coming from those streams to play Sea of Thieves. So it's also no surprise that after the biggest streamers slowed down playing the game due to stagnant content, the smaller streamers as well as the player base followed. This led to an incredibly short-lived type of Sea of Thieves. Within the first 3 months of the game's release and the 3 months following that, the average viewers watching Sea of Thieves had dropped by a staggering 89.7%. This of course made Rare, the development team, realise that they had to do something, and quickly. The following 12 months after the game's initial release, we got 13 different updates to the game. These include the Hungering Deep update, which gave us the addition of Megalodons and the Bilge Rat Guild with many things to progress towards and unlock, the Cursed Sails update that added things like skeleton ships, cursed cannonballs, and the Brigantine, which of course is a free player ship that we all know today, and the Shrouded Spoils, which added things to the game like fog, different types of Megalodon, and the mermaid statues where you could receive mermaid gems. But these were just a few things that led up to the biggest update Sea of Thieves had ever released yet, being of course the Anniversary update. The Anniversary update added so much new content to the seas, with Tall Tales being introduced for an all new storyline to play Sea of Thieves, a new game mode called the Arena mode, which was a game mode strictly for PvP where you all fought to the death earning points, with the game ending after 15 minutes and whoever had the most points winning the game, a Sea Dog trading company to go along with the Arena mode to earn cosmetics as you compete, and another trading company, the Hunter's Call, which introduced fishing and cooking of raw meat from pigs, snakes, chickens, sharks, megalodons, and the Kraken. Along with that, we got different types of fish with different rarities that you can catch, earning you different rewards and commendations for the Hunter's Call. Health regeneration after eating cooked food, as well as all different types of fruit giving you different health point benefits. To say that this update was huge would definitely also be an understatement. This one update alone pretty much entirely changed the game overnight. It added so much new content for people to experience, and this did have some success. Streamers returned to Sea of Thieves, some to experience the new Tall Tales and some to play the new Arena game mode. But unfortunately, this wasn't enough. Although this did help the game's popularity, its effects were only short term, and very similar to before, as more people played the game and streamed the game, they stopped playing the game and streaming the game just as quickly. So Sea of Thieves was pretty much back to where they were. And although the game was better as a whole, it went back to the slow and inevitable decline. This pattern of releasing updates and having little success is a pattern that has continued to this day. Even years after the initial peak, the game developers still can't wrap their heads around how to secure a consistently growing player base, and there's many reasons as to why this pattern keeps repeating itself. First off, the update schedule that we have is not consistent in the slightest. We can compare to games like Rust that have consistent update schedules that don't change and have deadlines that are always met, obviously making them succeed. And there's a few reasons as to why this is, with the main one being that even when the players that are playing the game start to get somewhat bored, they always know how long it is until they get new content. Fast forwarding a couple of years in the Sea of Thieves timeline from where we were to 2022, we got a preview event displaying all of the future updates. Now, I won't go too in depth about it, but to summarize it, they showed us what the next year was going to be like in terms of updates. This gave us all high hopes as to what we were going to receive, but unfortunately, each update ended up being months and months late, progressively getting worse, with delays as well as content being extremely underwhelming to say the least. Another major issue with Sea of Thieves that actually impacts these delays is development resources. In Season 6, we actually saw the removal of the previously mentioned Arena mode. The main reason as to why this was removed was due to resources from the development team being scarce. They also had to move quite a number of their development team off of Sea of Thieves to work on Everwild, which is Rare's up and coming game. So they pretty much shifted around developers, leaving them with a worse team with less resources than before, and I think this in a nutshell really displays Microsoft's dedication to Sea of Thieves. There are so many people who love this game and they are more worried about bigger and better things than to actually improve the game that they started. As we all know, Sea of Thieves doesn't have the grinding aspect to it that other games do. There's nothing that you can continuously grind towards to affect how you actually play Sea of Thieves. Of course we have Pirate Legend, but being realistic, it really doesn't take long to reach Pirate Legend, and once you do, cool, you can work on the finer stuff. Then what? The only real achievements that you get in this game are all cosmetic based. And I think Rare do turn a blind eye to this aspect, because in reality there are only so many cosmetics you can grind for, and you have to be one extremely dedicated player to grind for just cosmetics, as they give you absolutely no benefit in game than to look cool. In saying that though, I do somewhat applaud Rare for adding things during 2022 like Sea Forts and the Fort of Fortunes, as well as all the new quest types that you can do. And yes, in a content aspect this does make the game arguably better, but there are so many things that Rare have continuously neglected since day one. Game-breaking issues that make any player trying to play the game for long periods of time frustrated, with one of many being the PvP system. Sea of Thieves has one of the most inconsistent combat systems out of every single online player versus player game that I've ever experienced. This also reflects on an even bigger problem that the dev team also decided to neglect, and that is the servers that Sea of Thieves is hosted on. Sea of Thieves use Microsoft as a service to host the game, and it's to my understanding that these servers weren't even designed for gaming. And like the saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, the same thing applies here. No matter how much content is added to Sea of Thieves, it will still never ever be a smooth and enjoyable game for any player for long periods of time. Comparing the Sea of Thieves servers to something like the Fortnite servers, the lowest ping you get on Sea of Thieves is 35 times higher than Fortnite servers. I have never seen a player with less than 30 to 35 ping on Sea of Thieves, and that's because of the servers. This server issue directly affects the combat system. The combat system is filled with inconsistencies when trying to use it, with hit registration issues being the main problem. This is where you hit a player and you get a hit marker, but the bullets do absolutely no damage to the enemy, as the game just hasn't registered that your bullet hit anything. Mix this with teleporting around your ship because of stupidly high ping, you get a sometimes borderline unplayable player versus player experience. Something else that directly affects the server's performance is all of the content updates that they add. So it really is a situation of one step forward and two steps back. As sure, it's positive every time that they add new content, but negative because more content hurts the server's performance even more. What Rare need to understand is that for people to come back and play Sea of Thieves, they actually need a good reason to. I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this video are also extremely underwhelmed by the updates. And if you haven't played Sea of Thieves in a while, does this video convince you to come back and give it another go? Because it sure wouldn't make me want to. The bottom line is, Sea of Thieves has gained a terrible reputation for the quality of the game itself. Other games attempt to create longevity for the game, but instead Sea of Thieves puts the already scarce development resources into creating a private single player world for the game. Are they trying to cater to people who actually want a single player pirate game? The saying that it's Sea of Thieves and not Sea of Friends heavily applies here. It's almost like they don't want people playing the main game mode and they would rather have people play by themselves just so they don't have to use the pathetic system that Rare call combat. At the moment, it would be an awesome time for Rare to actually bring something to the table. Instead, we got a season that we had to wait almost an entire year for that added almost nothing apart from the Skull of Siren song voyage and the before mentioned Safer Seas. With all of this, do you think that the next season could be any good? Is there absolutely any chance of them reviving the game with the next update? Let me know your thoughts in the comment below.